Dr. Amanda Price stared at her computer screen in the basement laboratory of MIT's physics building. The numbers made no sense. She had been running the same particle acceleration experiment for 3 weeks, and every time the results showed something that should not exist. The energy readings jumped in ways that broke every rule of physics she knew. Amanda rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the data again. The particles were behaving as if something was interfering with them from outside the lab. 2,000 miles away in Colorado, Lieutenant Colonel Jake Martinez sat in the dark control room at NORAD. The screens around him showed satellite positions and space debris tracking. Jake had noticed something strange over the past 6 months. Several satellites had reported brief interference patterns that the official reports blamed on solar activity. But Jake had been watching space for 15 years, and he knew solar interference when he saw it. This was different. The patterns were too regular, too precise to be natural. Jake pulled up the interference reports from the last year and spread them across his desk. Each incident lasted exactly 47 seconds. Each one happened when satellites passed through specific coordinates in Earth's orbit. The locations formed a perfect grid around the planet. No natural phenomenon could create such exact patterns. Amanda saved her experimental data and walked to the coffee machine. The building was empty except for the night security guard. She liked working late when no one could disturb her thoughts. As she waited for the coffee to brew, she thought about the impossible readings. The particles in her experiment were losing energy in ways that suggested something was absorbing it. But her lab was sealed and isolated. Nothing should be able to interfere with the particle beam. She returned to her desk and opened a new program. If something was interfering with her experiment, maybe she could track it. Amanda spent the next 4 hours writing code to analyze the energy loss patterns. When she finally ran the program, the results made her sit back in shock. The interference came from above the laboratory. Something in space was affecting her equipment. Captain Lisa Green stood on the bridge of the USS Meridian, humanity's most advanced spacecraft. The ship was 3 days into a routine patrol mission near Jupiter's moons. Lisa had commanded the Meridian for 2 years, and she knew every sound the ship made. Tonight, something felt different. The long-range sensors kept picking up faint signals that disappeared before they could get a clear reading. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Ben Carter, looked up from his station with a confused expression. "Captain, I'm getting some weird readings on the passive sensors. There's something out there, but every time I try to focus on it, the signal vanishes." Lisa walked over to Ben's console and studied the display. The sensors showed empty space, but the computer kept logging brief contacts that lasted only seconds. "How long has this been happening?" "About an hour, ma'am. The contacts appear every 12 minutes, always in the same general direction, but never the exact same spot." Lisa felt her pulse quicken. In deep space, patterns like this usually meant only one thing. Something was watching them. "Take us to silent running. Cut all non-essential systems and maintain current course. I want to see if our friend out there gets curious enough to take a closer look." The bridge lights dimmed as the Meridian powered down to minimal systems. Lisa and her crew waited in the darkness, watching their screens for any sign of movement. 20 minutes passed with no contacts. Then Lieutenant Ben Carter whispered urgently, "Captain, I've got something. Large contact, moving fast, directly ahead." On the main screen, a faint outline appeared against the star field. The object was smooth and curved, unlike any human spacecraft. It moved with impossible grace, turning without using visible thrusters. As they watched, the mysterious craft seemed to notice the Meridian. It stopped moving and hung motionless in space for several seconds. Lisa held her breath. This was humanity's first contact with something clearly not made by human hands. The alien craft began to move away, accelerating smoothly. "Follow it," Lisa ordered, "but keep our distance." The Meridian's engines came online, and they began pursuing the unknown vessel. The alien craft was faster than any human ship, but it seemed to be holding back, staying just within sensor range. After 10 minutes of this strange chase, the craft suddenly accelerated far beyond anything the Meridian could match and vanished into the darkness. Lieutenant Ben Carter ran his sensors over the area where the craft had disappeared. Captain, I'm detecting some kind of debris field. Small objects, maybe fragments. Lisa ordered a full stop and deployed collection drones to gather samples. The fragments were unlike anything in Earth's databases. The material was metallic but lighter than aluminum, and it seemed to bend light around itself in strange ways. Most surprising of all, the fragments were warm to the touch despite being in the cold of space. Dr. Amanda Price received an urgent call at 3 in the morning. The voice on the phone belonged to Dr. Kevin Ross from the government's Classified Research Division. He wanted to meet with her immediately about her particle acceleration experiments. Amanda had never heard of Dr. Ross, but something in his voice told her this was important. They met at an all-night diner in Cambridge. Dr. Ross was a thin man with nervous eyes who kept looking over his shoulder. He ordered coffee but never touched it. Dr. Price, your experiments have attracted some attention. We've been monitoring similar energy anomalies around the world, and your work might help us understand what we're dealing with. Amanda studied the man across from her. What kind of anomalies? Dr. Ross pulled out a tablet and showed her data from laboratories in Japan, Germany, and Australia. All showed the same impossible energy readings that Amanda had been seeing. We think something is interfering with advanced physics experiments all over the planet. Your particle accelerator, fusion research in Tokyo, quantum computing in Berlin. Every time scientists get close to certain breakthroughs, something stops them. The implications hit Amanda like a physical blow. If Dr. Ross was right, someone or something had been deliberately holding back human scientific progress. The question was who, and more importantly, why. Lieutenant Colonel Jake Martinez finally found the connection he had been looking for. The satellite interference patterns matched exactly with the locations where Dr. Amanda Price and other scientists had reported equipment malfunctions. Whatever was affecting the satellites was also interfering with advanced research on Earth's surface. Jake compiled his findings into a classified report and sent it up the chain of command. Within hours, he received orders to report to a secure facility in Nevada. As his plane lifted off from Colorado Springs, Jake wondered what he had stumbled into. The evidence pointed to something incredible and terrifying. Earth was being watched, and the watchers did not want humanity to advance too quickly. The pieces were starting to come together, but none of the humans involved yet understood the full scope of what they faced. High above Earth, invisible ships continued their ancient vigil, their crews unaware that their carefully maintained secret was finally beginning to unravel. Engineer Marcus Brown walked into the Lockheed Martin facility in Nevada, carrying a metal briefcase that felt heavier than it should. Inside were the fragments that Captain Lisa Green's ship had collected from the alien craft. Marcus had 20 years of experience analyzing unknown materials, but nothing had prepared him for what he found when he opened that case. The metal fragments seemed to shift and change as he watched them under the microscope. The atomic structure was unlike anything in Earth's periodic table, yet somehow the material remained stable. Marcus called his team together and spread the fragments across the analysis table. I want every test we can think of. X-ray, electron microscopy, spectral analysis, everything. This material shouldn't exist, but here it is. Dr. Amanda Price arrived at the Nevada facility the next morning. The government had flown her in after Dr. Kevin Ross explained that her particle acceleration research was connected to a much larger mystery. She found Marcus Brown's team working around the clock in a laboratory filled with equipment she had never seen before. Marcus showed her the fragments under a powerful microscope. These pieces came from something that was watching Earth. The material has properties that violate several laws of physics. It's conducting electricity in ways that should be impossible, and it seems to generate its own magnetic field. Amanda studied the readings and felt her understanding of science crumble and rebuild itself. This suggests technology thousands of years ahead of anything we have. But if these aliens are so advanced, why are they just watching us? Why not make contact? The answer came from an unexpected source. Tony Clark was a mechanic who owned a small garage in Phoenix, Arizona. He had no formal education beyond high school, but he could fix anything with an engine. When a strange piece of equipment arrived at his garage with a note asking him to repair it, Tony assumed it was some kind of military prototype. The device was about the size of a car engine but weighed almost nothing. Its surface was smooth and featureless except for a small opening that looked like it might be a fuel intake. Tony had never seen anything like it, but he approached it the same way he approached every broken machine. He took it apart to see how it worked. What Tony found inside changed everything he thought he knew about machines. There were no moving parts, no wires, no circuits that made sense. Instead, the device seemed to channel energy through crystalline structures arranged in patterns that hurt his eyes to look at. Tony spent 3 days studying the machine, making sketches and taking notes in his messy handwriting. On the 4th day, Tony decided to try something that any trained engineer would have called insane. He connected the device to his garage's electrical system and added some copper wire he had lying around. The machine hummed to life and began producing more electricity than it consumed. Tony had accidentally created a working fusion reactor in his garage. The energy output was detected by government monitoring systems within hours. A team of scientists and military personnel descended on Tony's garage, expecting to find a major security breach. Instead, they found a mechanic with oil-stained hands who had solved one of science's greatest challenges by ignoring everything he should have known was impossible. Dr. Amanda Price was part of the team that interviewed Tony. She watched in amazement as he explained his modifications to the alien device. Tony's approach was completely unscientific, but it worked. He had succeeded where billion-dollar research projects had failed because he did not know he was supposed to fail. "The thing is," Tony said, wiping his hands on a dirty rag, "this machine wants to make power. All I did was give it what it needed and get out of its way. Most of the stuff inside was just making it harder for the energy to flow." The implications were staggering. If Tony could make alien technology work better by simplifying it, what did that say about the aliens who built it? Marcus Brown began to suspect that humanity's approach to problem-solving might be fundamentally different from their watchers. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Colonel Jake Martinez had been assigned to a new task force investigating the satellite interference patterns. His team had traced the signals to their source and made a disturbing discovery. The aliens had not just been watching Earth. They had been actively interfering with human development for decades. Jake found records of mysterious equipment failures dating back to the 1940s. Every time human scientists got close to breakthrough, discoveries in nuclear physics, space travel, or advanced computing, something went wrong. Key researchers died in accidents. Laboratories suffered unexplained explosions and prototype devices failed at crucial moments. The pattern was clear once Jake knew what to look for. Someone had been systematically sabotaging human progress, keeping Earth's technology advancing at a carefully controlled pace. The question was why? What did the aliens fear would happen if humans developed too quickly? Dr. Kevin Ross gathered the growing team of researchers at the Nevada facility for their first full briefing. The room was packed with scientists, engineers, and military personnel who had been read into the project. Dr. Ross stood at the front of the room and began to explain what they had learned. For at least 70 years, possibly longer, Earth has been under observation by an advanced alien civilization. They have not made contact, but they have been interfering with our technological development. Every major breakthrough in physics, energy production, and space travel has been delayed or prevented by what we now know was deliberate sabotage. The room erupted in shocked voices and angry questions. Dr. Ross raised his hand for silence. "We don't know why they've been holding us back, but we now have examples of their technology. Mr. Clark has proven that we can not only understand their devices but improve on them. This gives us our first real chance to break free from their control." Marcus Brown stood up and addressed the room. "The alien technology is incredibly sophisticated, but it's also over-engineered. They build things to last forever and never fail, which makes their machines slow and inefficient. Human engineering focuses on getting results quickly with whatever materials we have available. That difference might be our advantage." Captain Lisa Green joined the meeting by video link from her ship, which was now patrolling Earth's orbit looking for more alien contacts. "We've detected at least 12 different craft monitoring Earth. They maintain position just outside our sensor range, but they're definitely watching us. Since we started this project, their activity has increased significantly. Dr. Amanda Price realized the truth with sudden clarity. They're afraid of us. All this time we thought they were superior beings who saw us as primitive. But if they were truly superior, they wouldn't need to interfere with our development. They're afraid of what we might become if they let us progress naturally. The meeting ended with a new sense of purpose. Humanity had been held back for decades by beings who feared their potential. Now that the truth was known, the real work could begin. Teams of scientists and engineers started working around the clock to reverse engineer the alien technology and understand the principles behind it. Tony Clark became an unofficial consultant to the project, his garage wisdom proving more valuable than textbook knowledge. His approach of simplifying complex systems and finding practical solutions inspired the entire team. Within weeks, they had made more progress understanding alien technology than the aliens probably expected humans to make in decades. The Watchers above Earth began to realize that their careful control was slipping away. For the first time in their long surveillance of the planet, they faced a possibility they had never planned for. The humans were not just learning from their technology, they were improving it. Ambassador Zeth Kalar of the Vrex Dominion stood before the great crystal dome that housed the Hegemony Council. The 12 species that governed the galaxy had maintained peace for over 3,000 years by following one simple rule: primitive. Civilizations must be contained until they prove themselves worthy of joining the galactic community. Earth had been under observation for 2 centuries, and now everything was going wrong. The council chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. The Althari sent their floating crystal entities, the Corvin arrived in their mechanical bodies, and the ancient Thalos appeared as shifting energy patterns. All of them had received the disturbing reports from Earth. The humans were developing technology at an impossible rate. Zeth Kalar activated the holographic display that showed Earth's recent activities. Council members, we face an unprecedented situation. The human species has not only discovered our surveillance, but has begun reverse engineering our technology. In the past month, they have achieved breakthroughs that should have taken them centuries to develop. The Corvin representative, a tall figure encased in gleaming metal, spoke in mechanical tones. Perhaps we underestimated their intelligence. Many species show rapid advancement when they discover traces of our technology. They will eventually reach the same theoretical barriers that have stopped all other civilizations. But Zeth Kalar had studied the human data more carefully than his colleagues. This is different. The humans are not following expected development patterns. They are improving our technology rather than simply copying it. Their fusion reactor design produces 30% more energy than our own models while using common materials found on their planet. On Earth, President Helen Carter sat in the Oval Office receiving a briefing that would change humanity's future. General Patricia Wong, the new head of the Terran Research Initiative, spread classified documents across the president's desk. The pictures showed alien craft, reverse-engineered technology, and test results that proved humans were not alone in the universe. Madam President, we now have concrete evidence that Earth has been under alien surveillance for decades. These beings have been actively preventing our technological advancement, but we've managed to obtain samples of their technology. Our engineers are making remarkable progress understanding how it works. President Carter studied the photographs of sleek alien vessels hanging motionless in space. General, what do we know about their intentions? Are they planning to invade Earth? We don't think so, ma'am. Their behavior suggests they want to keep us isolated rather than conquer us. Dr. Ross believes they see us as a potential threat that needs to be contained. The question is, what we do with this information. At the Nevada facility, Dr. Kevin Ross had made a breakthrough that explained why humans were advancing so quickly. His brain scans of the research team showed unusual neural activity patterns that had never been documented in any species. Human brains processed information in ways that allowed for intuitive leaps and creative problem-solving that followed no logical rules. Dr. Ross called Dr. Amanda Price into his office to share the discovery. Amanda, look at these brain scans. When you work on a complex problem, your neural pathways form connections that shouldn't be possible. Most species think in linear patterns, moving from one logical step to the next. Human thinking jumps around, making connections between completely unrelated concepts. Amanda studied the colorful brain images on Dr. Ross's computer screen. You're saying we think differently than other intelligent species? Not just differently, unpredictably. The aliens have been watching us for 2 centuries, but they still can't anticipate what we'll do next. Their technology is designed by minds that think in careful, logical steps. When humans approach the same problems, we find solutions they never considered. This revelation reached Sergeant Pete Johnson while he was working on the alien cloaking device in his laboratory. Pete had been trying to replicate the invisibility technology for weeks without success. Every time he followed the alien design exactly, the device failed to function properly. But when Pete started substituting Earth materials for the exotic alien components, something unexpected happened. The modified cloaking device not only worked but performed better than the original. Pete's version used common metals arranged in patterns that no alien engineer would ever consider. The device bent light around objects more efficiently and used less power than the alien model. Pete had accidentally discovered that human engineering principles could improve alien technology. Word of Pete's success spread through the research facility like wildfire. Teams working on other alien devices began experimenting with human modifications. Within days, they had improved the efficiency of alien power systems, enhanced the range of their communication equipment, and increased the speed of their computer processors. Captain Lisa Green received orders to test the improved cloaking technology on the USS Meridian. Her ship was now equipped with a hybrid system that combined human engineering with alien principles. As the Meridian disappeared from all sensors, Lisa felt a surge of pride in human ingenuity. They had taken the Watcher's own technology and made it better. The first real test came when 3 alien ships approached Earth's outer atmosphere. The vessels were larger than anything humans had built, moving with the smooth grace that marked advanced alien technology. Captain Lisa Green's ship was the only human vessel capable of intercepting them. The Meridian moved to intercept the alien fleet, its hybrid cloaking system keeping it invisible to their sensors. Lisa had studied the alien movement patterns and noticed they followed predictable courses based on energy efficiency and mathematical precision. She positioned her ship where the aliens would least expect to find it. When the alien vessels detected the Meridian's presence, they stopped their advance and began transmitting messages in languages no human could understand. But their actions spoke clearly enough. They had come to Earth to take direct action against human advancement, and they were shocked to find humans waiting for them with technology they thought was safely beyond human understanding. The alien ships began to withdraw. When they realized their stealth advantage was gone, Captain Lisa Green made a decision that would echo throughout the galaxy. Instead of letting them leave, she followed them. The Meridian's hybrid engines allowed it to keep pace with the alien vessels, something that should have been impossible with human technology. For the first time in hegemony history, a primitive species had achieved technological parity with their watchers. The implications terrified the alien crews. If humans could match their stealth and speed capabilities, what other surprises might they have developed? Back on Earth, Dr. Amanda Price's team achieved another impossible breakthrough. They had been working on the alien gravity manipulation technology, trying to understand how the alien ships moved without visible propulsion systems. Using the same principles that had made the cloaking device more efficient, they began modifying the alien gravity generator. The human version of the gravity drive was smaller, more powerful, and could be built entirely from materials found on Earth. Amanda watched in amazement as their prototype lifted itself off the laboratory table and hovered in midair. They had not just copied alien technology, they had revolutionized it. The news reached the Hegemony Council within hours. Ambassador Zeth Kalar stood before his fellow council members with reports that shattered their understanding of how primitive species were supposed to develop. The humans had achieved in months what had taken the Hegemony's member species centuries to accomplish. Council members, we can no longer classify humanity as a primitive species. They have demonstrated technological capabilities that exceed our own in several critical areas. Their approach to engineering produces results that our scientists consider theoretically impossible. The ancient Thalos entity pulsed with confused energy patterns. This cannot be accurate. No species has ever improved hegemony technology. Our designs represent millions of years of perfected engineering. Zeth Kalar displayed the human modifications to their cloaking systems, power generators, and gravity drives. Each improvement was simple but effective, using principles that hegemony engineers had dismissed as inefficient or impractical. The humans do not think like us. They find solutions by breaking rules we consider fundamental. The Corvin representative processed this information with mechanical precision. If the humans can improve our technology, they represent a paradigm shift in galactic development. They must be contained or integrated immediately. But containment was no longer an option. The humans had proven they could match hegemony technology and improve upon it. The Watchers had become the watched, and the primitive species they had tried to suppress was now teaching the galaxy new ways to solve old problems. Engineer Rachel Kim stared at the quantum communication array she had built in NASA's secret facility beneath Johnson Space Center. The device was based on alien technology recovered from the probe fragments, but Rachel's modifications had transformed it into something the original designers never imagined, where the alien version could send messages across a few light years. Rachel's human-engineered version could reach anywhere in the galaxy instantly. The breakthrough had come when Rachel stopped trying to understand how the alien device worked and instead focused on what it was trying to accomplish. The aliens had built their communicator like a precise instrument, channeling quantum particles through carefully calculated pathways. Rachel's version was messier but more effective, using brute force and redundant systems to push quantum signals farther than should be possible. Dr. Amanda Price watched as Rachel activated the modified communicator for its first long-range test. They were attempting to contact the Voyager probe, which was now beyond the edge of the solar system. The alien version of this technology had never been able to reach that far, but Rachel was confident her improvements would work. The console lit up with incoming data as Voyager's weak signal was amplified and clarified by the quantum relay, but they received more than they expected. The probe had detected artificial structures in interstellar space, clearly built by intelligent beings. Humanity was not alone, and now they had the technology to communicate across the vast distances of space. The success of the quantum communicator sent shockwaves through the Hegemony Council. Ambassador Zeth Kalar received reports that human communications had been detected by monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The humans had achieved faster-than-light communication in less than 6 months, a process that had taken the Vrex Dominion over 3 centuries to perfect. Council members, Zeth Kalar announced during an emergency session, humanity has developed quantum communication capabilities that exceed our own. Their signals are stronger, more stable, and reach farther than any technology in the Hegemony database. We are no longer monitoring them. They are announcing their presence to the entire galaxy. The Hegemony faced an unprecedented crisis. For 3,000 years, they had maintained galactic peace by keeping primitive species isolated until they proved themselves worthy of membership. But humanity had bypassed the normal development process entirely, achieving advanced capabilities, while retaining what the Hegemony considered a primitive mindset. The Corvin representative calculated the implications with mechanical precision. If humanity can communicate across galactic distances, they will soon make contact with other contained species. Our control system depends on keeping primitive civilizations isolated from each other. The decision to intervene directly was made by a narrow vote. 3 Hegemony stealth ships were dispatched to Earth with orders to disable human research facilities and confiscate all reverse-engineered technology. The mission was classified as a containment action, designed to reset human development to acceptable levels. Captain Lisa Green was commanding the USS Meridian on patrol near Mars when her sensors detected the approaching Hegemony fleet. The 3 alien ships were larger and more advanced than anything humans had encountered, but they were following predictable approach patterns that Lisa had learned to recognize during her months of studying alien behavior. Lisa's ship had been upgraded with all the human improvements to alien technology. The Meridian now moved faster, hit harder, and hid better than the original alien designs. But Lisa knew this would be humanity's first real test against beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. The hegemony ships expected to find a primitive species using crude copies of stolen technology. Instead, they encountered a human vessel that outperformed their own ships in every category. The Meridian's hybrid cloaking system made it invisible to their sensors, while its improved weapon systems could penetrate their shields. Pilot Sam Turner, Lisa's tactical officer, had studied every piece of alien technology they had captured. He knew their ships were designed for efficiency and logical combat patterns. Sam's approach was the opposite of logical. He used unpredictable attack runs, sudden direction changes, and tactics that violated every rule of space warfare the hegemony had established. The first hegemony ship disabled by human weapons sent shockwaves through the alien fleet. Their shields were designed to stop weapons that followed mathematical precision. Sam's chaotic attack patterns created resonance failures in their defensive systems, allowing human projectiles to penetrate barriers that should have been impenetrable. The remaining two alien ships attempted to withdraw, but Captain Lisa Green had anticipated this move. The Meridian's improved engines allowed it to match their retreat speed while maintaining weapons lock. For the first time in hegemony history, their advanced vessels were being outfought by a species they considered primitive. The alien crews transmitted desperate messages to their command vessels, reporting that human technology exceeded all projections. The humans were not just copying hegemony designs, they were revolutionizing them. Every system the aliens considered perfected had been improved by human modifications. Dr. Kevin Ross received real-time reports of the space battle from his facility in Nevada. The engagement proved that human engineering principles could overcome technological disadvantages through superior adaptability and creative problem-solving. But Ross knew this was only the beginning of a much larger conflict. Meanwhile, Dr. Amanda Price's research team had achieved their most ambitious goal yet. Using principles learned from the alien gravity drive, they had constructed Earth's first true interstellar spacecraft. The vessel combined human engineering with reverse-engineered alien technology to create something entirely new. The ship was unlike anything built by either species. Where alien vessels were smooth and graceful, the human starship looked like it had been assembled from spare parts in someone's garage. But every ugly modification served a purpose, and the overall design was more capable than ships that had taken the hegemony centuries to develop. Amanda walked through the starship's corridors, marveling at the practical solutions her team had implemented. They had replaced exotic alien materials with steel and aluminum, substituted complex alien circuits with simple human electronics, and powered the entire vessel with Tony Clark's garage-built fusion reactor scaled up to industrial size. The test flight was scheduled for the following week, but events in space forced them to accelerate the timeline. Captain Lisa Green's battle with the hegemony fleet had proven that humanity could defend itself, but it had also announced their presence to every alien civilization in the local stellar region. Tony Clark himself had been brought to Nevada to oversee the starship's power systems. The mechanic from Phoenix found himself in charge of technology that would have seemed like magic a year earlier. But Tony approached interstellar travel the same way he approached fixing cars. Figure out what needs to happen, then find the simplest way to make it work. The thing about this ship, Tony explained to Amanda as they reviewed the final systems checks, is that it wants to fly. All this alien technology is designed to move through space and travel between stars. We just had to stop overthinking it and let the machine do what it was built for. The starship's maiden voyage would take it to Alpha Centauri, humanity's nearest stellar neighbor. The journey would prove that humans could travel between stars and potentially make contact with other intelligent species. But more importantly, it would demonstrate that humanity had broken free from the constraints the hegemony had placed on their development. As the countdown began for humanity's first interstellar flight, similar preparations were being made in dozens of locations around Earth. The success of the quantum communicator and the starship had inspired a new generation of human engineers to push the boundaries of what was possible. Farmer Bill Adams in Iowa had modified alien agricultural technology to triple his crop yields while using half the water and fertilizer. Teacher Carol White in California was using alien learning enhancement devices to help her students master complex subjects in record time. Across the planet, ordinary humans were taking alien technology and making it work better than the aliens had ever imagined. The hegemony watched these developments with growing alarm. Humanity was not following any known pattern of technological development. They were improving alien designs that had been considered perfect for thousands of years, achieving breakthroughs that challenged fundamental assumptions about how intelligent species were supposed to evolve. Ambassador Zeth Kalar prepared his final report to the Hegemony Council. The containment mission had failed completely. Not only had the humans defeated superior alien forces in direct combat, but they were now preparing to spread throughout the galaxy with technology that exceeded hegemony capabilities. The Watchers had become the watched, the teachers had become the students, and the primitive species they had tried to control was now showing the galaxy new possibilities for growth and development. The Hegemony Council chamber had never seen such chaos in its 3,000-year history. Representatives from across the galaxy were receiving reports that their carefully maintained order was crumbling. Species that had been contained for millennia were rising up, demanding the same freedoms that humanity had claimed for itself. Ambassador Zeth Kalar stood before the great crystal dome as urgent messages poured in from monitoring stations throughout the galaxy. The Althari had detected human quantum communications and were demanding to know why they had been kept isolated for 2,000 years. The Zellan had built copies of human-improved fusion reactors and were asking why the hegemony had never shared such efficient technology. Council members, Zeth Kalar announced with barely controlled desperation, "We face the collapse of everything we have built. 17 contained species have broken communication silence in the past week. They have observed human technological achievements and are questioning why they remain restricted to their home systems." The ancient Thalos entity pulsed with agitated energy patterns. "The humans have infected the galaxy with their chaotic thinking. Species that accepted containment for centuries are now demanding explanations we cannot provide." Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of humanity's first deep space exploration vessel, the Starship Liberty. The ship was built entirely with human-improved alien technology and crewed by volunteers from every branch of Earth's military and scientific community. Their mission was to make contact with other intelligent species and offer friendship instead of conquest. Jake had been chosen to command the Liberty because of his experience tracking alien surveillance patterns. He understood better than most humans how the galaxy's power structure worked and why the hegemony had tried to keep Earth isolated. But Jake also believed that diversity made civilizations stronger, not weaker. The Liberty's first stop was the Althari home system, 47 light-years from Earth. The Althari were one of the oldest contained species, kept isolated by the hegemony for over 2 millennia. Their crystalline cities floating in gas-giant atmospheres represented a completely different approach to civilization than anything humans had encountered. When the Liberty dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the Althari homeworld, they were immediately surrounded by beautiful crystal ships that moved like living things through space. The Althari had been watching human communications for weeks and had prepared a welcome unlike anything the hegemony had ever offered them. The crystal beings who came aboard the Liberty communicated through harmonic vibrations that human translators could barely convert into words. But their message was clear. They wanted to learn how humans had broken free from hegemony control and achieved the technological improvements that everyone in the galaxy was talking about. Dr. Kevin Ross had joined the Liberty's crew specifically to share human engineering principles with other species. He stood in the ship's conference room surrounded by floating crystal entities, trying to explain how human thinking differed from the logical patterns that dominated galactic civilization. "The key," Dr. Ross explained while his words were converted into harmonic frequencies, "is that humans don't follow rules when the rules don't work. We try impossible things because we don't always understand why they should be impossible. This allows us to find solutions that more logical minds would never consider." The Althari absorbed this information with growing excitement. Their own development had been stalled for centuries by hegemony restrictions, but they had always assumed this was because they lacked sufficient intelligence or capability. The humans were proving that the limitations were artificial imposed by beings who feared change more than they valued progress. Within hours of the Liberty's arrival, Althari engineers began applying human principles to their own technology. Their crystal-based systems responded even better to human modifications than alien metal devices had. The Althari discovered they could improve their cities, their ships, and their communication networks by abandoning the careful logical approaches the hegemony had taught them. News of the human Althari cooperation spread through the galaxy faster than the hegemony could suppress it. Species after species began demanding explanations for their continued isolation. The careful balance of power that had maintained galactic peace for millennia was dissolving as beings realized they had been kept primitive not for their own protection, but to maintain hegemony control. The crisis reached its peak when a fleet of human and Althari ships approached the hegemony capital world of Nexus Prime. Captain Jake Martinez commanded the combined fleet from the Liberty, while his Althari counterpart coordinated their crystal vessels through harmonic communications that human technology had learned to interpret. The Hegemony Council faced a choice that would determine the future of galactic civilization. They could fight to maintain their old system of control and containment, or they could accept that the galaxy had changed beyond their ability to manage through force and restriction. Ambassador Zeth Kalar met the human fleet in orbit around Nexus Prime. His own ship was surrounded by vessels that incorporated technology his people had never imagined possible. The humans had not come as conquerors, but as partners offering cooperation and shared knowledge. Dr. Kevin Ross requested permission to address the Hegemony Council directly. He stood in the great crystal dome that had hosted 3,000 years of carefully controlled galactic governance and spoke to representatives of 12 ancient species about the possibilities that came with embracing change instead of fearing it. Honored council members, Dr. Ross began, his words translated into a dozen different languages and communication methods. Humanity did not seek to overthrow your system. We simply wanted to grow and learn without artificial restrictions. The improvements we've made to your technology are not the result of superior intelligence, but of different perspectives approaching the same problems. The Corvin representative processed this information with mechanical precision. You claim that diversity of thought leads to better solutions than logical optimization. This contradicts fundamental principles of efficient governance. Dr. Ross smiled and gestured to the holographic display showing improved technology throughout the galaxy. The results speak for themselves. In 6 months, cooperation between humans and other species has produced technological advances that surpass 3,000 years of hegemony development. We're not suggesting you abandon logic, just that you consider other approaches as well. The debate that followed lasted for days and included representatives from every species in the galaxy. The contained civilizations demanded freedom to develop their own potential, while traditional hegemony members struggled to accept that their careful system of control had actually hindered progress rather than ensuring it. The turning point came when Ambassador Zeth Kalar himself acknowledged what the evidence had made clear. Council members, we must accept that our methods have reached their limits. The humans have proven that our assumptions about optimal development were incorrect. Perhaps it is time to try a new approach. The Hegemony Council voted to dissolve their system of containment and control, replacing it with the Galactic Cooperative. Instead of restricting member species, the new organization would encourage cooperation and shared development. Species would be free to pursue their own paths while contributing to collective knowledge and security. Tony Clark, the mechanic whose garage experiments had started humanity's technological revolution, found himself invited to address the inaugural meeting of the Galactic Cooperative. He stood before representatives of hundreds of different species and delivered what many would later consider the most important speech in galactic history. The thing about fixing machines, Tony said in his simple, direct way, is that you can't be afraid to try new things. Sometimes the manual is wrong, sometimes the experts don't know everything, and sometimes the best solution is the one nobody thought would work. The galaxy is like a big machine that wasn't running as well as it could. All we did was try a different approach to making it work better. The applause that followed Tony's speech included sounds, lights, and energy patterns from across the galaxy. Species that had been enemies for millennia joined together in acknowledging that the simple wisdom of a human mechanic had shown them a better way to organize their civilization. The transformation of galactic society happened faster than anyone had expected. Species that had stagnated under hegemony control suddenly began developing new technologies, new art forms, and new ways of understanding the universe. The diversity of thought that the hegemony had feared became the galaxy's greatest strength. Captain Lisa Green commanded the first joint exploration mission beyond the edge of known space. Her crew included humans, Althari crystal beings, Corvin mechanical entities, and representatives of dozens of other species. Together they were seeking new worlds and new civilizations to invite into the growing galactic cooperative. The universe was vast and full of possibilities that had been ignored for too long. The Watchers had become partners, the Primitive had become teachers, and the galaxy had learned that progress came not from controlling others but from encouraging every mind to reach its full potential.